Today, in let's examine the actual results of the election instead of just hyperbole. So I started with an interesting post, which I found talking about how normies, voting for Democrats and all of this stuff, saying here's what people care about, and people talking about people on Democratic who knows to throw a punch, and I found somebody who was saying that blaming progressives for it. Okay, let's look at the data. Here's the 2020 results. We can see that moderates went from 64% for Biden and liberals, people on the left, this is these leftists they love to talk about, 89% for Biden in 2020. And so if our Bidenista is correct, that I blocked because he was just so ridiculous, what we would find is that the liberals should drop significantly and see an increase of votes for Trump in 2024. Nope, that did not happen. Moderates dropped for Trump, dropped support for Democrats. Liberals, people, those leftists, Bidenistas love to complain about, increased their support for the Democrats, and conservatives had essentially, conservatives saw an increase in support for Trump. So it's not the leftists. It's clearly not the leftists. It's not the liberals. It's the moderates and conservatives. They're the ones who swung for Biden and Trump. If we want to look at race, we can look at that too. We find that in 2020. So if you let's test the other hypothesis I see all the time, saying that it was because that Harris was black that white people wouldn't vote for her. So we have data. We have real data on that. Here's race. White people, 41% for Biden. So if that is correct, we should expect that less than 41% of white people voted for Harris because white people are inherently racist and evil people. Nope, that's not true. 42% of white people voted for Harris, a larger percentage than the number of white people who voted for Biden. But let's see, black people 86, Hispanic Latino 51, black 87, Latino 65. For some reason, the Democratic Party lost votes among black and Latino voters, 13% each of the constituency in 2020 versus 11% in 2024. So for some reason, a large number of African American voters in the 2024 who did vote for Biden did not choose to vote for Harris. This is why Harris lost. Moderates did not vote for Harris as much as they voted for Biden. Her support from leftists was as high as you saw from previous candidates. And if you look at, they used to record who you voted for in the primary, but they stopped doing that because Bernie Sanders supporters consistently were the ones that were most likely Actually, we can look at the 2016 exit poll. And I think that one is the last year where they looked at it by primary support. College grads voted more for Democrats. So it's not college students who are voting for Republicans. That's not the reason. College students saying, I'm not going to vote for Trump because of Gaza, or I'm going to vote for Trump because of Gaza, is not a significant factor. It's the moderates who would not vote for Harris because of perceptions that Biden was bad for the economy. That's what we have. We still find consistently that it's the moderates who dump Democrats in. They're the reason why Democrats lose. It's people in the middle. It's not people who are, it's not the Dem. So does this mean that we need to necessarily try to move to the right to catch moderates? I don't think that's the answer either, because then you might start to lose your base. I think you just need to campaign and not screw up. really, the way you get moderates to vote for you is keys to the White House. That is the recipe. Oh, frick. If you want to win the moderates, then you really need to look at the keys. So, no foreign military failure, have a major foreign military success, have a strong economy, and pass your legislation. If you do those three things, you are probably going to win the moderate vote, as we see in the 2008 exit poll. 2008 presidential election. We have the polling data here as well, voter demographics. But we find, again, pretty consistent. About 90% of liberals will vote for the Democrat, no matter what. Your leftists, about 60% of moderates, which is, more. Obama won more of the vote than Clinton, and Obama was to Clinton's left. And we also find ideology moderate 64%. Biden did pretty well with moderates, better than Obama did, actually. And if you look at 2024, it really was the drop in support from moderates who gave Trump a slight victory. So here's the thing. We did everything the moderates wanted. We held off aid from Ukraine. We did support Israel as much as we possibly could. We did protect the filibuster. We didn't pass voting rights. We did everything they wanted, and they still would not vote for Democrats. I think the real answer is to not listen to what they say they want and look at the history. Keep the economy strong. Do not have a major military failure like the Taliban winning the war, and have a major foreign military success, which would have been something like, the hostages returned and the end to the war in Gaza. One has occurred now, but after the election, which is no good for Democrats in terms of electability. It's still good they return home, but it doesn't help for the election, to be very clear. And, we didn't support Ukraine to win the war, and we actually held them back to postpone the end of the war. And so that gives two false keys to Harris. The Ukraine war caused severe economic crises around the world because of increasing food costs. And so that turns both economy keys false. And we didn't have a major policy change, so Trump won. So the thing is, you want to listen to voters somewhat, but also use your reason and say, if I do this thing, will this... If you have a choice... Now, here's the real question. Voters say, I want to hold off from supporting Ukraine because Russia has nukes. And you say, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to hold off support from Ukraine. I'm going to limit it to destroying Russians once they're already in Ukraine. But they're not going to win the war. And that's a foreign failure, military failure, and it denies you a success. So that's two false keys right there, most likely. And is that actually going to cause them to vote for you? Well, the answer is no. The answer is no. They will actually still drop your support for you, even if you do everything they want. Even if you do everything they want, they're still going to go to the other party. So think about the keys. They say they want you to hold back because Russia has nukes. You say, nonsense, we're going to do this right, we're going to end the war. Ukraine's going to win and take back all of their territory as recognized by the United Nations, by international law. And you get your foreign military success, and they're going to come back around and say, oh yeah, I always supporting Ukraine. And that's what you're going to end up with. So forget about your... Don't worry about what the polls say. Don't worry about what on specific issues. Talk to the experts. Do things that actually are going to work, especially when you're in the first 2 years of your presidency. So that the policies will have time to show their impact by the election, and then you will flip these keys true, and you win re-election. Biden did the opposite. He let his decision-making be driven by polls and by people's fears, and now Trump is president. It didn't work. He lost support from his own caucus, and the progressives still voted for him. This is the data. This is reality.